So I actually wrote this before we shot Possessor. I started working on it to a certain degree back in at least 2014. And then we scouted Croatia and Hungary just before we shot Possessor. Actually, that was the first time we went over there. So, yeah, and then nothing weird happened between Sundances. So, it did completely normal. So yeah, I started writing a short story a number of years ago about just the first execution scene, this idea of an alternate reality fictional country where people are executed for certain crimes, but they can pay to have a double made of them to stand in for the execution. And the story was just about that one situation. And then as I was expanding it, I did kind of keep going back to memories I had of a resort I stayed at many years ago. They would bus you in at night. You wouldn't see any of the actual country or any of the surrounding area. You would just be dropped into this weird resort compound surrounded by razor wire fence, and you couldn't leave. And it was very much like the resort in the film, actually, in a number of ways, because there was this strange and kind of horrifying contrast between that resort and eventually seeing the area surrounding it, and I guess expanding it into a story about people who are operating without consequences. That kind of naturally flowed from that development.
My character, her dad is a sort of like a famous, wealthy publisher, very successful publisher. And James is a writer with not a lot of success. And I think some of the dynamics in the film to do with James sort of being swept up into this hedonistic world that's kind of like representative of privilege. I think for M, being someone that's from privilege but is somewhat an outlier from it at the same time, I think her wariness and her pulling away from it is indicative of her dynamic with her father. So it's an interesting like full circle thing. But they're not having a great time as a couple, I will say.
It's fantastic.
No
it's
holding
a romantic
hands.
Ship. No, it's
we weren't allowed to hold hands.
First meet James and Em at the beginning of the movie. Yeah, it is a bit stale, a bit awkward. They've gone on this trip. James wrote a book 6-7 years earlier that no one bought, no one read. It's a very, it's definitely pretentious. And he had a hard time, and the only reason it got published was because he was married to the daughter of the publisher. And he's been struggling with that ever since, and that classic sophomore syndrome of, okay, well, what's my next story going to be? So the motivation to go to this country, Litolka, is just to kind of try to snap out of it and get some inspiration and see something new. And ironically, they go to this place that is, we don't have anything, you don't even get a taste of the local culture because they are so sheltered in this little compound where everything is fake. It's like Disneyland for adults. But it's, they're definitely struggling, and there's not a lot of, I think M is not quite sure why they're there. James keep procrastinating. He's like, well, we went all the way to this weird place, and you're still not writing. You're finding excuses not to write, and it's the perfect opportunity for Gabby to kind of show up and a little inspiration.
So I play Gabby, who is an actress living out in Los Angeles, but her career hasn't entirely gone to plan. So she's doing odd jobs here and there, mainly commercials. And she's married to this wealthy architect played by Jalil Lesper. And, their life is, it's comfortable, it's nice, but it's quite superficial. And so they found this resort, and what started off as just her husband doing a job there, they discovered this secret that this place has. And so what ended up evolving is that this resort really kind of comes to provide Gabby something really necessary, as a way of her assigning meaning to an otherwise really rather empty life. At this resort, she's able to find the stage that she's always longed for. She's able to play many different people, wear many different masks, and it was such a freeing and just such a joy, a character like this who's so unhinged and, you know, presenting herself in so many ways and really not concerned with what others think of her. It was just, it was a real joy to play.